Prince's last Diddy recording played in trial.
The moment Prince's voice echoed through the courtroom, Diddy's expression shifted, his carefully composed exterior cracked as the final recording of the legendary artist played, a haunting testimony from beyond the grave. What was in that recording that shook one of the music industry's most powerful figures? Day 3 of this explosive trial has just revealed bombshell evidence no one saw coming, sending shockwaves through Hollywood.
Cassie said he would get physical. The one male guy who did things with Diddy and Cassie said he witnessed him get physical. Don, so again, we talked about how the domestic charges aren't, what he's being, what he's on trial for. But boy, it's stacking up. And I feel that the jury is going to take that into consideration.
The first Diddy party I went to was at Prince's house. So you want to go to Prince's house to the Diddy party where Tyrese is performing and Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher are swinging on swing. That is what's happening on the other side of the wall. And so the one thing that makes this party different than a Jamie Foxx party or any other celebrity party that wrangles a bunch of young women or guys or whatever too, is that Diddy didn't let you bring your security in.
Day 3 began just like the 2 before it. Journalists scrambled for the best seats, celebrities slipped in through side doors, and legal teams arranged their papers with practiced precision. But there was something different in the air this morning. The courtroom wasn't just full, it was electric. Security guards stood in every corner. That's standard for a high-profile trial. But today there were twice as many. 4 officers took positions directly behind Diddy's defense table, a new and noticeable change. A court insider later revealed they had received special instructions that morning, though no one explained why. Diddy entered the courtroom appearing calm and confident. He wore a perfectly tailored navy suit, nodded at supporters in the gallery, and even flashed his trademark smile. His legal team surrounded him like a human shield, whispering strategy and reassurance. He looked like a man who believed he had everything under control. But what he didn't see coming, what no one did, was the silent preparation taking place at the prosecution's table. 2 tech specialists quietly set up unfamiliar equipment that hadn't been there on previous days. They tested connections and whispered to the lead prosecutor, who kept glancing at Diddy with thinly veiled anticipation. Something was coming, and only the prosecution knew what. Rumors flew. A courtroom reporter later told me, people were texting each other across the room, wondering what bombshell the prosecution was about to drop. We all felt it. The judge entered. After the usual formalities, he delivered an unusual warning. I want to remind everyone present that regardless of what evidence is presented today, I expect complete composure in my courtroom. He paused, scanning the gallery. Any disruptions will result in immediate removal. Prosecution opened with the same calm, calculated tone as the previous days, reviewing witness testimony and tying evidence together. It almost felt routine, until the lead prosecutor suddenly paused mid-sentence. "Your Honor," she said. At this time, the prosecution would like to present critical audio evidence recently authenticated by our forensic team. She stepped forward, holding a small black device. The defense immediately objected, claiming they hadn't been properly notified. A heated sidebar followed. Diddy's lawyers gestured emphatically, but the judge ultimately ruled. The evidence was properly disclosed in discovery. Prosecution may proceed. That's when it happened. The prosecutor turned to face the courtroom and delivered the words that changed everything. What you are about to hear is the final private recording made by Prince Rogers Nelson before his death. The room froze. Journalists stopped typing. There was a collective breath, held tight. Prince, the legend, the voice, the icon, was about to speak from beyond the grave. Diddy's lead attorney grabbed his client's arm. Color drained from Diddy's face so fast, it was like watching a storm hit. His legal team huddled close, whispering frantically as the prosecutor connected the device to the courtroom speakers. In that brief moment before a single sound played, the power in the room shifted. Diddy's team knew something devastating was about to be revealed. And from the look of panic in Diddy's eyes, so did he.
Just trying to listen. I mean, there's a lot of this stuff that I've heard and seen already. I'm really trying to connect the dots here and think like, damn, what if Prince was letting Diddy, like, what if he caught wind of some, like you say, allegedly, stuff that Diddy might have been doing that seems to be, like, I ain't talking about consensual things, I'm talking about illegal things or whatever. But I'm just like, would Diddy be that dumb to, like, not think that Prince, this celebrity, has cameras in his house as well? So I'm just trying to think, like, because if Prince has cameras and he's recording stuff, you know, to get some dirt on Diddy, I don't know. I feel like Diddy, with all his cameras that he allegedly had, or no, they actually found cameras.
Problems?
That I don't know, right? What I know is that he was really health conscious. He was a vegan. He didn't abuse alcohol. I didn't know of him drug. He worked out, you know, so, you know, that also really concerned me, because it made me think that, wow, so you mean you do all these things to take care of yourself and you die so...
What you're about to hear was recovered from Prince's private vault, the prosecutor announced. Courtroom erupted into a wave of whispers. People leaned forward in their seats. Journalists frantically typed into their phones. This wasn't just any piece of evidence. This was Prince, speaking from beyond the grave. The prosecutor explained, the recording was made just weeks before Prince's death in 2016. It was never meant to be heard publicly, she said. Prince created this as insurance, to document what he witnessed firsthand. When Prince's voice first echoed through the speakers, a woman in the third row covered her mouth and cried. It wasn't just the shock of hearing him. It was his tone. Prince sounded anxious, his voice low, almost secretive. Completely different from the bold, confident persona the world knew. I'm making this recording because I don't know who to trust anymore, Prince began. The audio was crystal clear. You could hear him breathing between sentences, slow, deliberate. This wasn't performance. This was Prince at his most private, unguarded, and raw. And then came the moment that changed everything. Prince started naming names, specific dates, precise locations. And at the center of it all was Diddy. He spoke of parties held at Diddy's homes, the one in the Hamptons, another in Miami. The very same parties 3 previous witnesses had already described under oath. I watched Diddy's face as the audio played. Within seconds, his usual confidence vanished. His eyes widened. His attorney leaned in to whisper, but Diddy didn't react. He just stared ahead, completely frozen. Prince's voice grew more intense. What happens at these parties isn't just wrong, he said. It's criminal. I've seen how they operate. I've seen who's involved. I've seen who gets hurt. Each word landed like a hammer. You could feel the energy in the room shift. This wasn't just confirmation of the prosecution's narrative. This was insider validation. And the most powerful part? You can't cross-examine the dead. You can't intimidate a voice from the grave. Prince described a specific party in December 2015. He named guests, including 2 celebrities who had previously denied ever attending Diddy's private gatherings. He mentioned the private rooms upstairs, describing details that aligned exactly with the prosecution's earlier statements. The courtroom was silent, except for Prince. Even the judge was leaning forward, hanging on every word. Court reporters would later say it was the most chilling moment they'd ever witnessed. The atmosphere wasn't just tense, it was heavy. I tried talking to him about it, Prince continued. I told him this had to stop. He just laughed and said I should mind my business if I wanted to keep working in this industry. That precise moment, the prosecutor paused the recording. Timing was deliberate, dramatic, and devastating. Every eye in the courtroom turned toward Diddy. His mask was gone, his face pale, his hands shaking, His lead attorney hurriedly placed a yellow legal pad in front of him, trying to block the jury from seeing his reaction. But it was too late. Everyone had already seen it. The moment Prince's voice identified him, Diddy's carefully constructed wall of confidence shattered.
Became such a big deal back then is ever since my third album, I wasn't really taking large advances from the recording companies. I was recording the albums myself in my own studio. So the way I looked at it, I owned the work because I paid for it. And I did all the work. I created it, so I felt like it should belong to me. That said, the companies felt otherwise. And they would always hold this contract up and say, well, you signed it. And I say, well, I understand that. It's not like I want to leave. I just want to, talk about this thing and see if we can't make it more fair. Of course, they wouldn't change, because if they changed, they wouldn't really exist. And that's kind of the situation we're in right today. They're not going to exist much longer. But it's not like we're against them or anything like that. The idea is that we find better ways of working with one another. It shouldn't be a situation where they own the album or the work. We're talking about intellectual copyright. If they're going to be indeed a delivery service, then that's fine. But even FedEx doesn't say that they own the thing that they ship.
Cassie Ventura on the witness stand for a fourth day in the federal criminal trial against hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The defense continuing cross-examination this morning, confronting her with dozens of her own messages, many explicit, hoping to convince the jury she was an eager sexual partner who matched Combs' desires. I'm always ready to freak off, one message said.
She was into the freak-offs herself and was like a willing participant and was into all the freaky stuff, and essentially that was the crux of what they were trying to do yesterday.
And do you think they proved that or not?
I mean, there's texts like that from 2009, I'm always ready to freak off. There was some other texts where she was referencing like hitting him up about the FOs, as what they were referring to him. To me, like, yes, this doesn't look good, but at the same time, I think the timeline is crucial here. And these are texts from 2009, man. That was when they were first getting in the relationship. She was young. Obviously, they were in the honeymoon stage, and she was stoked to like, oh my God, I'm with Diddy. I'm living this lavish lifestyle. Of course, she's going to be saying things that she knows will curry favor with him to keep it going.
What stunned the courtroom wasn't just Prince's words. It was watching Diddy fall apart in real time. For 2 full days, he had been the picture of composure. When accusers pointed fingers directly at him, he stayed stone-faced. When graphic images and damaging evidence appeared on screen, he simply leaned in to whisper calmly with his attorneys. Not once did he flinch. Not a single crack in his carefully controlled image. But the moment Prince's voice filled that room, everything changed. After that brief pause in the recording, as the prosecutor pressed play again, Diddy's transformation was impossible to ignore. His top-tier defense attorney, a man who's defended Hollywood's biggest names, gently placed a hand on Diddy's arm, a subtle move to help keep him grounded. But Diddy jerked away, so abruptly that a glass of water tipped over, spilling across the defense table. Several jurors exchanged glances. They noticed. Everyone noticed. The man who built an empire on being untouchable, cool under pressure, was unraveling. A courtroom sketch artist later told reporters, "I've never seen someone's physical demeanor change so fast, so drastically during testimony." Diddy's breathing grew heavier, his shoulders rising and falling rapidly, visible even to those in the back row. His eyes began darting around the room, as if looking for an exit. The judge never looked away. He knew the signs. He'd presided over dozens of high-profile trials. And this was the look of a man losing control. Diddy fidgeted in his chair, then reached up with trembling fingers and loosened his tie. He leaned in toward his legal team, whispering something urgently, so urgently that 3 of his attorneys leaned in tighter, faces drawn, tense. And then came the next blow. Prince's voice described a private gathering in Beverly Hills. He named a specific date, March 9, 2016. Then an address, one that the prosecution had already confirmed earlier in the trial. The moment Prince said it out loud, Diddy stood up. Not gradually, not cautiously. He sprang up, as if yanked by invisible strings. 4 security officers instantly moved toward the defense table. Diddy's attorneys grabbed his jacket, pulling him back into his seat. Their faces were pure panic. One whispered in his ear. Another physically positioned himself between Diddy and the jury. But the recording kept playing. Prince's voice grew darker, describing what he saw in one of the rooms at that Beverly Hills address. Details that exactly matched the charges outlined by the prosecution. And then Diddy snapped. "That's a lie," he screamed, his voice echoing through the courtroom. The words hit like an explosion. A reporter in the front row jumped. He wasn't even there. That never happened. Chaos. The judge immediately raised his gavel. Bang, bang, bang. Order. Order in this court. He bellowed, then turned his eyes toward Diddy, stern and unblinking. "Mr. Combs, control yourself, or I will hold you in contempt." Silence fell again, except for one sound. Prince's voice, still playing from beyond the grave. And in that moment, the prosecution's strategy became painfully clear. They waited. Waited until Diddy thought he had survived the worst. Waited until day 3 when his confidence returned, when his guard was down. Then they hit him with the one piece of evidence that no lawyer, no PR spin, no legal maneuver could deflect, a voice that can't be cross-examined. A man too powerful to silence, even in death. And it worked. Perfectly.
The other things that the Diddy's team tried to do was show how they had breaks, and she was with Michael B. Jordan and was with Kid Cudi for a minute. But during that time period, she was still having freak-offs with Diddy, and I think that was them trying to show, this wasn't a controlling thing. Here she was, hooking up with other people. She just was into the freak-off.
I kind of buy that, to be honest.
So...
she is out of the freak-off scene. She is... when she's with Kid Cudi, or allegedly with Michael B. Jordan, she's kind of out of the freak-off if she wants to be. So why do you keep going back? Yeah. I know it's kind of like a mental,
yeah.
She still loves Diddy. Diddy was jealous about her.
Oh, yeah, because that was another thing that the prosecutors were trying to do, is show that, that they had a very jealous relationship. She would get jealous when he's with Kid Cudi. Also, Kim Porter, Cassie would be jealous of Kim Porter.
Right.
Trying to show that, Cassie, you were in love with this guy. That's why you were jealous.
Right.
So, this was a real relationship.
It was just interesting to see Chris Brown.
I mean, he's always coming up somewhere.
He is.
Chris Brown.
All right. Final story of the week. Final story of the week. Justin Bieber is not a victim of Diddy. So this is one of those rumors or whatever that was flying around in the months leading up to the trial. And to be honest, there was quite a few rumors flying around, was there minors involved? Says if no other celebrity was part of freak-offs, why are they in hiding? Are they in hiding though?
I don't think they're in hiding. I just think other celebrities didn't want to insert themselves. No one wants to be tied to Diddy one way or the other.
Even if you're at a white party, just having a lot of fun, at, one of Diddy's white parties, you don't want to be linked in any way.
No, and that's why, all those people, there's a few people I think that have come forward and been I didn't see any of this freak-off stuff.
After the judge restored order, the prosecution resumed playing Prince's recorded testimony. What followed stunned everyone in the courtroom. Prince hadn't made vague or general claims. He laid out 3 specific allegations that struck at the very core of the case against Diddy. Prince revealed that he had been secretly documenting troubling behavior in the music industry for years. "I keep everything," his voice said on the recording. Dates, times, who was there, what happened. "I've been doing this since 2007. Legal experts exchanged glances. This wasn't speculation. This was detailed, systematic documentation from one of the most meticulous minds in music. The first bombshell came when Prince described exclusive parties held at Diddy's properties. "These aren't just parties," Prince explained. "They're carefully planned events. I watched him separate young artists from their teams, isolate them, and put them in situations where they couldn't say no." He even named a specific Beverly Hills residence and described a room layout that exactly matched floor plans already entered into evidence. Courtroom was dead silent as Prince continued. He voiced grave concerns over how young artists were being manipulated at these industry gatherings. They come in thinking it's their big break, Prince said. By the time they realize what's really happening, they're already trapped. I've personally seen it happen to at least 7 artists. The second allegation centered on a direct confrontation between Prince and Diddy. I confronted him at the 2016 Grammy after-party, Prince stated. I told him I knew what he was doing and that it had to stop. He laughed in my face and said, "You might be Prince, but you're not untouchable." I took that as a threat. Diddy's legal team frantically scribbled notes, clearly caught off guard by the claim. The third, and perhaps most damning, allegation involved financial transactions. Prince detailed several large payments Diddy had allegedly made to silence individuals, citing specific amounts: $2 million to one person, $1. $3 million to another. These numbers matched financial records already submitted as evidence. I've seen the payments, Prince stated. I've seen the NDAs they signed. This isn't just about rich people doing bad things, it's organized, it's calculated. The level of detail in Prince's statements suggested he had access to insider information. As the recording neared its end, his tone became more somber. I'm making this recording because I'm afraid to speak publicly. Power structure in this industry protects people like him. No one wants to believe what happens behind closed doors. He closed with a chilling message. If anything happens to me, make sure this reaches the right people. This isn't just about protecting myself, it's about protecting everyone who hasn't been able to speak up. When the recording ended, the courtroom remained frozen. No one spoke. No one moved. The prosecution had done the unthinkable. They had made Prince their star witness from beyond the grave. The lead prosecutor rose and simply said, "No further questions, Your Honor." She didn't need to say anything else. Prince had spoken, and what he said could no longer be ignored.